Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to my channel. I am Dr. Atufa Kaleem. All you know me as I have moved to Denmark and I have started making videos regarding Denmark pathway for doctors who wish to come to Denmark as a doctor. I'm making and guiding those doctors. So, for your guidance, I may be not the right person to guide you because I'm new here. So, I have thought about it and I decided that why not to invite some doctors here in our channel and they will guide you about this, about doctor life here. So, I have contacted one of the Irani doctor. She has been here for a few years and she is doing her second year specialization in radiology. It's a good chance for us that we can get information from her, we can get guidance from her. So, here we have invited Dr. Rasha to our channel. Welcome, Dr. Rasha. Welcome to my channel, and we are very grateful that you joined us. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Hi, Atufa. It's
Thank
Atufa, right? I'm
Yes,
saying your name
Atufa, Atufa. Yes,
right? Okay,
exactly.
hi, Atufa. My name is Rasha.
Rasha.
Hi.
Welcome and thank you so much.
You have been kind to send your questions, and I think it was
Yes.
about 11 or 10 questions, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to answer them. And I hope my
Yes.
answers help. But I have to say from the beginning,
Hmm.
my answers are based either on my own experience or
Mm-hmm.
the experience of people who were at the same time in the process.
Hmm.
And it's just to give a perspective
Hmm.
and expectation of what might go right or wrong.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, it's also a matter of choice or
Yes,
maybe
exactly.
luck. Okay?
Exactly. Our target is just to give information and for different scenarios so that people can get idea what they should do. And we are not here to make decision for anyone. Everyone has their own mind and they can make decision or choose something for themselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, yes. My first question is that is the language is it doable? Because most of people are afraid that can we pass it if we take risk and come and can we pass it or not? That's why most important question is.
It is definitely doable.
Hmm.
I'll tell you what I've been told. Like, I started in 2016.
Hmm.
The process, that was the first time when I came through the green card to Denmark as an immigrant. It was the green card back then. It was a system where you have to collect points, and based
Hmm.
on that points, because like I'm also a graduate from the UK, I have a master in genetics, so that also helped me as well. And also being a doctor was a point. So at the end, I came through green card. And my major aim was to work as a medical doctor. And I entered language courses at the beginning, and at the beginning, it is definitely hard because Danish is like it's not like English. English, you have American movies, many of the countries they study in English. I mean, I'm sure Pakistan they study in English. I'm sure, like, I mean, I come from originally Iraq, we study in English, and a lot of the Gulf countries, India, study in English. So English was easy, but Danish as a language it's not a language that usually you are introduced to. So the first time I was introduced to Danish language is when I came to Denmark. So in 2016, I took intensive courses, and at that time, there were volunteer foreign doctors and Danish doctors who came to the intensive language Danish, which was only for doctors. And that is like the end of the first year. There was this doctor from Afghanistan back then. He said, if I can tell my young version, I would tell him not to worry. So this doctor back then, he was already authorized and been working for years in Denmark. He told us directly, do not worry about the language. do not worry in getting your authorization, because if I can do it, you can do it. And for after 8 years, I repeat the same thing. If I can do it, you can do it as well. But the question is, what do you expect as a language? The language, you have to reach a professional level where your patient can understand you.
Hmm.
And some people have it easier than others, which is expected. Some people have more difficult accents and they have to work extra. But will I become like a native speaker? I do not think so. I mean, it will never be like my English. It will never.
Hmm.
That is a fact. And still, after 8 years, I am learning. And I'm sure if I'm going to talk to other foreign professionals, they will tell me the same thing. But the question is, will you reach a level of a Danish language to make a proper communication, which is very important when you
Hmm.
speak with your patient? Can you make a Danish language, the level of Danish language, which is equivalent to speak with your colleague?
Hmm.
Yes, you can do that. But for me, like I'm still learning so many of the expressions on social level. Most of the things that I'm learning now are not things that I will come to speak to the patient or my or like one of the seniors. No, I will talk with my own peers about it. Or and you have to also understand, like any other country, there will always be difference in expressions and dialects from one region to another. So if you
Hmm.
live in Copenhagen, there is a different expression. Uh, Unlike if you live in Newland, unlike if you live in Fyn, and these are old regions of Denmark. It's just like any other country where there's a variation. But again, I repeat, if I can do it and others can do it, so can you if you choose to.
It will take time to get a native pronunciation, of course. So the next question is how much time it takes, of course, to at the level that we are required of.
I- Is it about an authorization as a
No,
Danish
language,
authorization or the
the
language? The
language.
language, I do not think it is realistic to give an answer. I mean, for
Hmm.
me, I did it in like 14 months.
Okay.
I knew some did it in 10 months, but they were
Hmm.
already studying in their home countries. So
Okay.
when they came, they already knew they were studying online already. They knew the vocabulary, the meaning anyway, the grammar. And so when they came, they just focused on pronunciation. For me, I had to start from scratch. Some people, it took them 2 years. I know one, which is rare, it took 2 years and a half. The language is difficult to predict how long it will take because it is very individual. Our ability to learn language is different from one person to another. Some people are natural to learning language, but as an average, I would say like 12 to 18 months. Intensive,
Okay. Um,
intensive.
okay. Intensive.
Like
What do you mean by intensive? Because
intensive is like you go
here,
to this, I mean, here in Denmark at that time, it was like minimum 3 times per week. And I think it
yes.
was 3 to 4 hours, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. And but you have to study, you have
Hmm.
to memorize the words,
Yes.
to repeat again, so you
Hmm.
cannot expect to achieve
Hmm.
that score, because the
Hmm.
problem is not passing. Because like according to the Danish degree system, the mark system, 2 from 12 is a pass. You
Okay.
passed.
Okay.
2 from 12, because they
Hmm.
have a different scaling system.
Hmm. Hmm.
2 for 12 is like equivalent to 50%. So it
Okay.
passed. Can you pass it in 1 year? Definitely, but that is not what required from you as a doctor. As a doctor, you are required to get in writing 7 from 12, and in reading 7 from 12, and talking and hearing 10 from 12.
Okay.
So you cannot achieve that by reading or studying 1 hour or even 2 hours. I don't think that's possible. And I studied other languages as well. I've studied
Hmm.
Turkish and French as well. It's impossible.
Hmm.
Because the problem with you as any immigrant who's coming as a doctor, there is a score.
Hmm. Which is
You
required.
have to reach a score,
Hmm.
a level to get, because without it you cannot take your medical exams, the
Hmm.
written exam and the oral exam in Copenhagen University.
Hmm.
And if you do not pass that, you cannot get the courses of authorization of Danish
Hmm.
safety authority.
Hmm.
So it requires a score, and for you as a non-EU,
Hmm.
you cannot be part of the health system unless you have got those
Hmm.
level before. It's like
Hmm.
unlike other nationalities, they can be part of the health system, and then as they work and they earn, they are allowed to take the exam. For the non-EU doctors, it's different.
Hmm.
You have to achieve them at the beginning. So that's what I mean intensive. At one period, I was taking 3 courses daily.
Hmm. Okay.
So my life was just Danish language.
Hmm.
That was that's it.
You mean at least 3 to 4 hours a day, daily is must to
Is a
do an
must
intensive. Hmm.
because you have to have a score. It's not just
Hmm.
about passing.
Hmm.
Many of those who were like unfortunately delayed, like they did not pass. We say they did not pass in the first attempt of language. No,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
passed. They got a
Okay.
beautiful 4 from 12 in writing, but
Hmm.
it was not enough for them to get
Hmm.
accepted to take the exam.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the bar for you as a medical like profession, and this is also to dentists, by the way, as a non-EU, for you to enter the exams, you have to pass that standard.
Hmm.
So it's
And
impossible to
hmm.
get in 1 hour and 2 hour daily.
Yes,
You can
exactly.
pass. You
Hmm.
can pass. You will be you will like talk beautifully.
Hmm.
A foreigner. You will
Hmm.
not be a native, but you
Hmm.
will still have that accent. And that
Hmm.
accent, I think, is part of uniqueness. I mean, I still have an accent and I like
Hmm.
my accent. Do I
Hmm.
try to speak as the natives?
Hmm.
I do. But as long as it does not go over my profession with the patients, I'm
Hmm.
fine.
Hmm.
And my colleagues, I think now, because I'm doing radiology, I'm much more relaxed.
Hmm.
Um, I'm I don't have to prove that much. I know Danish. I do know Danish, but now I'm
Yes.
focusing on the cultural slang
Hmm.
language of what they speak to their daily life, which I did
Hmm.
not have a chance. I don't need it because I don't
Hmm.
need my patients with slang words
Exactly.
now, and sometimes if they do not understand what I say, I like tell them I'm trying to say this in
Hmm.
English. How will I say it so you can understand me perfectly?
Hmm.
But before, like in surgery and cardiology and oncology, it was pure core Danish.
Hmm.
And you have to ask your colleagues, whether it is a nurse or a doctor, to ask them to correct you.
Hmm.
And this willingness to be corrected, accepting to be corrected,
Hmm.
will at the end pay off.
Yes, exactly. You are
Yeah,
continuously learning.
yeah. And
Hmm.
that you have to accept. And this is
Yes.
not just Danish.
Hmm.
That's for anyone who wants to acquire a second language for the first time.
Exactly.
You
Hmm.
know.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if someone does not achieve that standard level of passing, then can they improve the in next terms in the
Okay.
coming exam? Can they improve?
Like I'll tell you because I lived in Copenhagen, and
Hmm.
at that time I took the fourth and fifth courses of Danish language. I took them in Hellerup school. You know
Okay.
Hellerup?
Yes.
Yes, this is for doctors. So
Yes.
all my colleagues were foreign, non-EU doctors. They were from and two dentists back then. They already know what kind of standard we need. And I had colleagues back then from Pakistan, India, USA, Bosnia Herzegovina, Spain, Iran. I'm from Iraq, for example, from Syria. and Russia back then. What else? Um, Serbia, and we were all trying to improve our Danish. The teachers already know, they have experience
Hmm.
what it means, requirements, which not all the schools know. They don't.
Yes.
Like
Hmm.
the level of like what you need to know for your daily practice is different.
Hmm.
I had a colleague who was from India back then.
Okay.
He, at the beginning, when you want to take the language exam, you go for the written and the reading.
Hmm.
Okay. When I met him in the class, when we were colleagues in the class, this was his second attempt.
Okay.
He did, he passed the reading, he got 7 from 12, but the reading, he got 4 from 12, which is beautiful if that's it. He
Past.
passed, yeah,
Yes.
but it's
Hmm.
not the score. So
Did not that target.
the teachers told him, we will not choose your name to go to the next level.
Hmm.
Because if you choose to go to the next level of oral, like this is when you have a communication and you hear, uh, and that's why it is multiplied by 2. And you have to, like, if you go, that means it's the end of your exam and you will not be allowed to repeat the course. So we knew, I mean, like even the teachers know, and many foreigners, doctor foreigners, try to advise their colleagues about that before they go to the language.
Okay.
If you do, if you get 4 in any of them or
Hmm.
2, like do not go to the oral because
Hmm.
it's a dead end.
Okay.
And then you will have to take the exams all from the beginning, and it will be quite difficult. So he didn't
Okay.
go. And that's when I met him. I was like the second round for him. And back then I got, yeah, I got 10 from 12
Hmm.
in the written and 10 from 12 in reading. Yeah, I think that's what, something like that. And my name was up. One of them, I think I had 7 from 12, which is above the required. I don't know, but at the end, I went with the first round.
Hmm.
But if I had not achieved the required score in the reading and writing, I would have not,
Go for the
continued
oral.
the next
Hmm.
round because
Hmm.
it's useless. So
Hmm.
you have to know the rules before starting,
Hmm.
you know.
And
The
these
teachers are very good.
these rounds are basically the last exam of PD3, the sixth module,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah. Of
Hmm.
Peditrait, which
Yes,
is
of
the for
PD3.
that line. Yeah, it's the
Yes.
Danish language exam, which is given twice yearly.
Hmm. Okay. So the next question is the visa and circumstances. They are in the favor of us. Like, can they extend the visa if
For
someone cannot
me,
do it?
for me, I came under a different set of rules.
Yes, you
I don't
came on the.
know. Yeah, I came through the green card, which
Hmm.
I think is also rigid because in the green card, you are also required to work. And if you do not work, you will not get your visa renewed.
Hmm.
And this is also an additional stress when you are a non-EU
Hmm.
because you don't have that umbrella.
Hmm.
For you, you're thinking about many things. First of all, for me, I immigrated and I like on my own dime, and you have to think, well, it was my father's dime, it wasn't my dime,
Hmm.
But again, I didn't have a source of money.
Hmm.
And my focus was I have to get my authorization as a medical doctor as soon as possible
Hmm.
because I financially I could not survive anymore.
Hmm.
And second, because I can, if I don't have a job who is the paid requirement, I cannot renew my visa.
Hmm.
But after that, I think in 2 years, they changed the rule where new doctors come through a different kind of visa.
Yes, exactly. They have introduced a new visa pathway, authorization pathway, in
Yes,
which they give us 3 years visa, which is extendable up to 5 years. And
yeah,
this is the separate, in which work is not allowed. The big
yeah.
thing is that.
But
So,
I believe people can still work, but they have to apply for a different
yes,
license. Yes,
yes.
exactly.
Then they
For
have to
me,
change the
yeah,
visa.
yeah. For me, no, it was you have to work, either you cannot renew your visa. And
Hmm.
so that's why
That is different scenario.
I was very stressed,
Hmm.
because you cannot renew a visa if you don't work. And to get
Yes.
work, you have to get your authorization and you have to
Hmm.
pass exams. So I really do not know about the extension. But I think I do understand, like, immigrants always do have to consider the safety network they have. What if it doesn't go in the first time? What should I do? I cannot answer you in that.
Okay.
Luckily, it was hard work, not just luck. I
Hmm.
got the extension of my visa based on my work, and each time I had to renew, I had to have work.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you will not get your visa.
So, what is your suggestion? Is it good to do a job with the language, or it's good just focus on the language
I
and then?
think it depends on the situation. If I tell you from me, I chose not to work.
Hmm.
Because not because either you find a work that is worth the money and you can delay, and that time you don't have enough time.
Hmm.
I mean, I know I'm doing now radiology. I mean, I have to study as well as work and all that, so I know there's not enough time and it is stressful. But because I'm working and it's okay, working efficiently, but like if the work is not worth the money at the
Hmm.
beginning, and it will not help you reach your goals, I do not suggest it anyway.
Hmm.
But it depends on the situation. I had a
Exactly.
colleague, like, for example, my life savings back then, well, my dad, it was only for up to 2 years.
Hmm.
And so that's why I was so pressured. I had to pass all my exams. Luckily, through hard work, I passed them always with the first attempt. But I was unrealistically, I like stress all the time. I gained weight as well. I didn't eat it properly. I didn't have time. And at one point, after I passed the third course of Danish, I was in additional courses. I like in 3 months or 4 months, I was doing 3 courses per day,
Hmm.
because you have to pass the barrier of the language. And then I think the second difficult exam, because it's in Danish and it's a different strategy, is the written exam.
The medical exam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I chose not to work because if I had worked low payment works,
Hmm.
not worth the money,
Hmm.
I would end up in a situation where maybe I could not pass because I didn't have time to study properly. Uh, and I will end up extending my Danish authorization, which is a very long process to start with. But I know also a colleague, no, he had to work. He was married. He was the breadwinner. He had a baby girl, and he had also a wife to support. He had to work, and he too came through the green card, where his visa had to be renewed through. I just close this through, working. But he got his authorization in 6 years. So I cannot tell you what to do, because most of the time it is the situation and the circumstances that force themselves.
Hmm.
Like, I know another colleague, no, she was happily married. Her husband was responsible for her visa. He had a job as an engineer, and they had just a baby boy. She had no problems with visa and no problems with money.
Hmm.
And so she passed also, and she got her
Hmm.
authorization in less than 3 years.
Hmm.
And she wasn't stressed. She was going traveling and all
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
So you cannot. Each individual has different circumstances,
Exactly.
and those circumstances will determine what you can do.
Hmm.
I know a colleague, he's from Iran. I mean, I don't know him directly, but I know like his story from another dear colleague to me. He's from Iran. He was a general surgeon, as already a consultant back home in his country. And I know that he did Danish language, and I think he would travel in the summer or something, trying to work there and come back. And he was financially stable, but he too like ended up doing his authorization in 4 years, and that is okay as well because
Hmm.
you don't know. Maybe like I know another doctor. She didn't have problems financially. Again, she came through family reunification with her husband. They were blessed with a baby boy,
Hmm.
and she took 1 year maternity leave, and
Hmm.
she completed her authorization in 4 years. That is okay as well. So it as long it is not a dead end, it is okay. But I would not advise taking work unless the money is worth it. Like my
Oh.
colleague, when he was working, the money was worth it. But trying to take petty things and
Or
you end up,
unless
yeah,
someone.
you end up draining your energy.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was not worth it.
Hmm. And
Because I have a
finding.
colleague as well as that. He was
Hmm.
working in a very low payment job, and he had to work because he was married as well and he had a baby boy. He did he ended up being sick, and
Hmm.
part of the course he could not come because he always had to work, and he did not pass the score twice.
Okay.
And he ended up extending just the language
Hmm.
up to 3 years.
Hmm.
So if it's not worth it, and worth it, I not mean just financially, maybe you have to do it. If you're
Hmm.
responsible for a child, if you're
Yes.
responsible for your partner, it
Hmm.
is worth it.
Hmm.
Like, because
Unless
having
you are.
money,
Hmm.
yeah, money coming in,
Hmm.
it's less worrying because
Hmm.
because I can tell you from my personal experience, the bank account falls rapidly while
Hmm.
you live in Denmark without a job.
Denmark. Yes.
I was so stressed. So stressed. I gained
Hmm.
weight. I didn't eat properly. I had malnutrition and I was exhausted. Did I wish I had the financial plan? Yes, but I didn't. So it was either this or not, you know.
Hmm.
It worked, but it was a lot of sleepless nights, hard work, and it paid at the end. But
Hmm.
so I can tell you, but I can give you different scenarios and see which to pick.
Hmm.
But like ask your colleagues, what are they doing? What is the possibilities? It's very important for foreign doctors to have a good network with other
Hmm.
foreign doctors as well, because
Hmm.
usually they have similar situations,
Hmm.
you know?
Yes. Thank you. And if someone has to do it, someone is financially not stable and has to do job, then what are the chances of getting a job? Is it?
It depends on the job. Like I can tell you,
Hmm.
um, one of my colleagues who I know, he worked as a DH delivery. You know DH? DHL?
Yes.
Yes. He worked as a DHL truck delivery.
Okay.
Financially, the money was good as a new salary doctor, to be honest,
Hmm.
which I knew. He said it was
Hmm.
okay. The money
Hmm.
was enough for him
Hmm.
to renew his visa.
Okay.
So was it worth it? Definitely.
Hmm.
But he ended up, because he was working, he didn't have enough time. He only could study maximum 1 or 2 hours. If he's lucky in the weekend, 3 hours, Danish language. And he ended up like doing his language in 2 years and a half. But it was okay. Like now he's doing residency and he's doing fellowship and he's amazing. But I'm telling you, you only have 24 hours a day.
Yes, there is a concept that doctor can do health assistant job. Is it correct? Can we
Health
find it?
assistant job. I'll tell you, when I passed my theory
Hmm.
exam, I got the first job contract as a doctor locum
Hmm.
for 3 months in
Hmm.
surgery, which was an amazing opportunity because back in my own country, I was crazy about general surgery, and I did have the chance to work at general surgery back in Iraq, and that was definitely one of the pathways that I considered here, and still I think surgery is amazing. By the way, despite I went to radiology, I think radio surgery is still a beautiful branch, you know. And later on, that was extended for 6 months. I had to resign because luckily I got another job contract for 1 year. And so it was possible for me.
No, that job was after your language. I am
Yeah,
ask,
after the language.
I am asking while learning
Before,
language. Yes.
huh, before the only people that I've heard of is those who worked in the care of elderly uh,
Okay.
and I didn't have that opportunity, like
Hmm.
I didn't apply, to be honest with you,
Hmm.
and I didn't know I could, and I was just focused in passing all those
Hmm.
exams, you
But
know.
to be honest, here elderly even cannot understand English.
Yeah,
That is
many. And
big
not
problem.
only that, I think because also many of when you grow up in age, you have difficulty in hearing. So,
Hmm.
and since foreigners talk with an accent, it
Hmm.
will make difficulty to communicate.
Yes.
Many of the elderly, they have unfortunately, many of them have suffered from stroke. Many
Hmm.
of them have Alzheimer disease. Many like dementia, other forms of dementia, you know, and they will have difficulty in understanding a foreigner. Also, the third question thing is because many of the elderly, they don't have energy anymore. Because for you to understand a foreigner, like I'm sure, like if I'm going to speak your mother tongue, which I learned, you will have to use energy with me so you can
Yes.
understand me. They don't
Exactly.
have that energy anymore,
Huh.
you know. But still, I'm telling you, like I had a colleague who worked part-time there, and he didn't take, like he took, I think, like he worked 3 days up to, it was between 2 days to 4 days max each week where he worked. That gave him enough money to pay his bills, the
Hmm.
rent, food, transportation. And so he didn't stress over these things because, like rent and food and all that, I mean, like the money bank account will disappear like that. I can tell you, he didn't have that. And at the same time, he understood the job market of Denmark because he was paying taxes. Like, like no matter how much people, like even in school, you're going to study about taxes in Danish and all that, you still do not understand the concept unless you start paying taxes.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like it will become just like in medicine where if you read just theory without actually seeing a patient, it will
Hmm.
be just blah blah blah.
Hmm.
So it doesn't mean anything, does it?
Hmm.
It
Yes.
You need to be part of it. So
Hmm.
he understood from the beginning the tax system. He understood the vacation system in Denmark. He had his bank account was not in crisis because he had some money coming
Hmm.
in, and at the same time he used it as an opportunity to like learn a little more health Danish, you know,
Hmm.
medicine Danish, because he used to read the journals.
Hmm.
He used to read the journals of the patients. Like this patient, he has like what dementia, and his family comes every Thursday, and all these things. So
Hmm.
he learned to communicate with patients from the beginning.
Hmm.
So that helped him later on to get like evaluation
Hmm.
work as a doctor, and it later on helped him as well to get in specialty. So, but it extended his language for 2 years instead of 1 year.
Hmm.
Is it okay? Yes, it is okay. I think it's okay
Hmm.
because he was working, he was learning a different experience, he
Hmm.
didn't have financial crisis, and so it was also okay.
Hmm.
So it is possible, but working as a doctor, I only heard of specialists like consultants in areas where they do not have enough Danish doctors. Consultants like, but if you
Hmm.
go to Copenhagen, I lived in Copenhagen in six
Hmm.
years. There's a huge competition. Like you, if you want such a job, I know like doctors they used to go to other areas and they were working. They
Hmm.
got work before getting their language
Hmm.
percent. Like they learned, but they still had not passed. They learned enough to communicate with the patient, but still they had not passed the
Required
exams,
level.
you
Hmm.
know? And that was okay because
Hmm.
they were
They
earning
are
as
in the system and
doctors.
hmm.
They were earning as medical doctors.
Earning
They,
exactly.
and
Hmm.
earning properly.
Hmm.
And it was an amazing experience. They learned
Hmm.
the system. They learned what was required from the
Hmm.
beginning. And that's okay as well.
Hmm.
There are different possibilities, but you have to be just flexible also about them because
Hmm.
I know like many of the foreigners, they stayed fixed. It has to be in Copenhagen and no other place.
Hmm.
And that will decrease your chances or because I mean I'm not saying there is no competition in other cities. I know I've lived in Copenhagen in 6 years, and in the past 3 years I moved out. And at the beginning I was very reluctant, but I had amazing opportunities. And I started traveling through Denmark. I'm starting to know different aspects of Denmark, different dialects, different expression, different system. And I like the hospitals that I had the chance to work at. It
Hmm.
was amazing. So as long as you are flexible, it's okay. But I do understand if people have difficulty in moving. Because if you have a partner who has a fixed job in a certain place, you can't just pack and move.
Hmm.
You
Or
can't. It
you
will be,
have kids.
yeah, it will be difficult.
Hmm.
It's doable because some other people did it. It's
Hmm.
doable. Other people did it. It
Hmm.
just means how much are you ready and
Hmm.
accepting to do it.
Hmm. Okay. And as you have mentioned that there is a specific criteria for language. After passing that criteria, then you pass the medical exam
Mm.
and then you do the internship.
Yeah.
And what about residency? How you start residency?
For me, I'll tell you, it's very important to get, I mean, all the papers evaluated. Most of the immigrants, doctors have already evaluated the papers by the Danish Safety Authority, right?
Hmm.
In that paper, they will tell you exactly what to do. As a
Okay.
basic thing, all non-EU doctors who are educated outside